Hey, what's up, y'all? It's time for the monthly behind the scenes vlog where I talk about how each of the videos released in the last month came to be, why they are the way they are. First, I gotta figure out where the hell the last one actually ended at because I don't remember. For some reason, I've chosen to record these on the 23rd. So I have to do like the last few posts of the previous month as well as everything from this month, and I gotta somehow determine which things came out before and after the behind the scenes video. So that was on August 23rd, and so anything released after that, but I don't have content roundups that correlate to it. So I have no fucking way of telling other than to go into my playlist and figure out what came out on, like, where was. Here, I'm gonna do that real quick. No, not no. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, that's August 22nd. So, artists, fleeting gimmicks, or careers. Was this? This was on the 23rd. So I probably covered that in the last one, unless I recorded it right afterwards. Who knows? Anyway, let's get started. Let's go through these. We're just going to use my playlist because that's the easiest way. I don't think I've released anything not on YouTube in the last month. Yeah, I haven't made any albums or text-only posts or anything like that. So, let's go. There's 49 videos in here, but a lot of them are Let's Plays. We got the bunch of Digi and May Let's Plays, which has been, you know, obviously not hard to explain why that happens. Me and May live together. We just want an excuse to basically sit around and talk. Like, I really enjoy just having conversations with, you know, with her, with people in general, with people I'm hanging out with. And so it's a good way to be like, hey, we've got 3 hours of nothing planned. Let's just sit and have a conversation and happen to record it so that we'll be more pointed and everything. Funnily enough, though, every Digi and May recording turns out way better than I think it is while it's happening. Like, I get so wrapped up in playing these games, and like usually I'm lost in the game. Usually I don't know what I'm doing, and as a result of not knowing what I'm doing in the game, I don't feel like I know what I'm doing in the conversation, and so I feel like we're having these really dry conversations, and then I listen to them back, and they're always fine. Like right now, I'm listening to Digi and May do Hyper Light Drifter number 2 plus Neo Yokio discussion, which the whole time we were recording it, I was like, man, this is really weak. I don't know if we're really making any points about Neo Yokio. Like, I'm not sure about this. And I'm listening to it back, and it just sounds like a fucking podcast. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I really got to stop beating myself up in the recording process. Then there was the Incest Procrastinators podcast, which is like the last one I think I've been on, which is just about incest in general. It was sort of Mumkey's idea, and he demanded I be on it, and so I came on, and it was pretty great. It's probably like one of my top 5 favorite PCP episodes that I've ever been on. We've got some Manga Mondays. There's no history behind those. Alright, Crunchyroll Expo panels. This is obviously something that deserves some explanation. So Crunchyroll Expo, I got invited to months back, right? Like probably in April or so. I was invited to have an all-expenses-paid trip to Crunchyroll Expo. They're paying for my flight, my hotel, my fucking badge, and I've never had that offer before. It's the first time any convention's offered me an all-expenses-paid trip. You know, Anime Expo, they just covered my badge and hotel. They didn't cover the flight. So this was the first time I was like a proper guest, and I was really excited about it. And I had this plan of, like, when I was touring the US earlier this year, my plan was to drive across the United States until I got to Anime Expo, and then drive back across the United States to get back home, and then fly to Crunchyroll Expo. That did not end up happening. Instead, I started my drive across country, got a girlfriend, immediately had no desire to finish this journey, flew to Anime Expo, flew to Crunchyroll Expo later, but by the time Crunchyroll Expo happened, not only did me and my girlfriend have a place that we'd already been living in for a month, I really didn't want to, like, leave. You know, I was kind of at a point in our relationship where I was really not comfortable with not being around her for 4 days. You know, like, I really wanted to still be there. So I didn't want to go at all. And I didn't know anybody at Crunchyroll Expo. I didn't know what I'd be doing. I basically told them, like, put me on any panel that I'm fit for. Like, do whatever you want with me. Put me all over the place, you know? So they did. So, but it actually ended up going pretty smoothly. Like, it was a pretty fun time for at least one night. The rest of it was miserable, because, like, the flying there sucked, because it's flying across country, which always sucks. The hotel room was really nice, but the next day I spent the whole day having a great time. All my panels were on the same fucking day. Everything I had really going on was on day one, and I got shit-faced and hung out with anime YouTubers, and you can hear those stories elsewhere. But the 3 panels I had to do were, first, the Digi vs. Gigguk panel, which is currently on my main channel. It was originally supposed to be on Crunchyroll's channel. They recorded it themselves, and it was supposed to be, like, one of their big event panels, because it was filmed in the main hall. But, like, they basically decided that it was not fit for their channel, because we swear constantly, and it's really aggressive and abrasive. So they basically edited it and then gave the footage to me and Gigguk and said, you guys can do what you want with this. And I said, I'll post it. And Gigguk said, yeah, you go ahead and post it. Like, I don't know if that's because he thought the content wasn't right for his channel either, or if it's just because he kind of got killed in the debate. But either way, I am the one who ended up posting it, which is completely fine by me. We got more views there than it probably would have on the Crunchyroll channel anyways. I just wish it hadn't been after someone else's upload already had 40,000 fucking views. Meanwhile, the other 2 panels I did that night were Digibro Before Dark, which is just a Q&A panel, and then the big anime and YouTube panel, where they put me, Arcada, Mother's Basement, Canepa, Gigguk, and Octopimp all on a panel together, which was interesting, a little weird. There was too many people, because the panels at Crunchyroll Expo are only 45 minutes, which is kind of odd. And obviously with 6 people, you could ask us one question and we're going to take half the show. So, and also none of us knew who Octopimp was. Like, the rest of us all knew who each other were, but we didn't really know who he was, because his content's kind of really different from the rest of us, so that was weird. But anyway, they all worked out pretty fine. I recorded the first 2, or the later 2 rather, on my phone, because I didn't have anybody there to do it for me. Like, I didn't have a cameraman. I didn't have a +1, because they wouldn't give me one. And they didn't have, like, an on-hand cameraman. So I just kind of set up my GorillaPod on a table and filmed myself. So the audio's not great in any of them, but, you know, it's good enough. It's fine. So then we got more Let's Plays. Rixty Minutes, which doesn't need any explanation. Holy shit, there's a lot of Let's Plays. And I feel like some of this stuff does have some explanation, but it's given in the episode. Like, why did we play Crazy Strike Bowling? Probably because, you know, I was buying these games on the PS4. I was just, like, buying random cheap games. I think I talk about that in there. Insufferable Social Media Argument, the podcast. We had our episode from the future. That was a lot of fun to do. Here we go. Volume as song structure. This was one of a few ideas I had for the music channel while I was flying across country. I actually had, like, a bunch of great video ideas that I didn't write down and completely forgot about. Like, because the way I am on planes, I can't do anything. Like, I can't really get to sleep because I'm an insomniac anyways, and it's hard to sleep in, like, an uncomfortable position with constant noise. And I had brought headphones with me, but my headphones, everything sounded like shit, because the amount of bass from the planes itself's flying strips the bass out of your music. So everything I'm listening to has no bass, and every fucking band does left and right ear justification stuff, like left and right panning, and I fucking hate that shit, and I don't listen to anything on headphones, so it's always a surprise for me. I don't know if that was just made worse by the plane thing, but, like, it was a fucking nightmare. I really hated listening to music on the plane, with the exception of the songs by Mercury Rev that I had on my phone. And it was while listening to the song Chasing a Bee that I had the idea for this video, because that song, the whole thing is like deliberately made quieter just so that when this one guitar riff kicks in, it is the loudest, most overpowering thing in the world, and it sounds so fucking awesome. And so, like, the majesty of hearing that on my plane ride was what inspired this video. But yeah, there was a few others that sadly have not come to fruition from that flight, and I probably will never remember them, but hopefully I'll just have the same idea again later. Scoring every show I've finished. So this was planned to be an immediate follow-up to the every show I dropped thing. Like, that went over so well, so weirdly well, because it's, like, essentially nothing content, but, like, people really seem to enjoy it. So, and I was like, well, I'll just do another one. Like, I'll do one with the completed list. And that way, originally the idea was I'll make a bunch of this and schedule it to come out while I'm on my journey across the country. But I did not end up finding time to record any of it while I was on that journey. So instead, I decided that this would be, because through the month of September, I was mostly working ahead of myself. Like, all month, what I've been doing is working on videos that aren't going to come out for a little while and trying to have, like, a lot of backlog already scheduled. So, like, I'm already working on October videos currently, but I wanted there to be something that would consistently release throughout September while I was working ahead. So, scoring every show I finished seemed like a perfect choice. I could break it into 30-minute episodes. There's 12 total, I think. So yeah, it ended up being a really good idea, and it has sort of kept the After Dark channel active and gaining tons of views, because these videos get lots of views because it's a good excuse to put a cool anime thumbnail on a video. Then we've got The Last High School Anime, finally getting into some main channel shit. The Last High School Anime was inspired by Manabi Straight. I rewatched the show with May, and I had the idea for this in the old ass anime cast. Like, if you listen to the Manabi Straight episode, I sort of discussed the idea of the show as like a justification of high school anime and like a final chapter of it. And then I think I bring it up again in the Moe episode, where I'm talking about like how there's these subtle differences between the Moe shows, and basically all of that culminated into this. And you know, I rewatched Manabi Straight mostly for the sake of trying to make this video. Like, I thought this would be a good idea, so I watched the show, and then when I was thinking about how to approach writing it, I thought, well, the easiest way to get to the point, like, get to this end point that Manabi Straight is to use all the other shows to build up to it. So I kind of formatted it in this, like, timeline way, which is, like, the most Digibro way of doing things imaginable, so I'm really happy with it. I enjoyed writing that video a good bit, and it sort of got me back into the swing of writing again, because I was definitely in a place in August of, like, not being able to write. I was doing, like, these unscripted videos. I didn't know what kind of stuff I wanted to write. I was really struggling with it. Writing this video that was so entirely Digibro and, like, couldn't have been done by anybody else really got me back into, like, the mindset of myself as a writer, and, you know, prepared me for the upcoming written content I've been doing afterwards. So next we've got, there's more Manga Mondays, more scoring every show, more Rixty Minutes, more Let's Plays, Dragon Quest Builders. The episode of Insufferable Social Media where we had Asterios Kokonos on, that was pretty exciting. Asterios Kokonos being a regular guest from The Biggest Problem in the Universe and The Dick Show, the two podcasts that are essentially my lifeblood. And I've talked to Asterios before. I had met him at the Dick Show Live. He follows me on Twitter and has for a long time. You know, I've traded words with him, but apparently he became he saw one of Mumkey's videos and really liked it, and started following his channel. And then Mumkey basically like told him, "Hey, I'll give you $10 if you come on the Insufferable Social Media argument." It took us like a month and a half to finally get him on because Asterios is an infamous flake, but we finally did get him, and it was really great. It was fucking hilarious. Next up, we've got the My Favorite Anime series, which is now being rebranded with each episode having an individual title. So Kill La Kill is What My Mind Looks Like is the new title of, because these we're not pulling in very many hits with the title My Favorite Anime. But this series, essentially, there's a lot of history behind it in a way, because the original take on it was Back in August, when I was trying to figure out what to write, I had an idea for doing basically a reversal of The Asterisk War Sucks, where instead of talking about everything that can go wrong with an anime, I talk about everything that can go right with an anime. So I had this huge list of, like, every single element of anime, like color design, or script, like characterization, villains, like all these different things that anime can do right, and I had picked a show for each of them from my favorites. So I was going to use one of my favorite anime to discuss each of these concepts, which sounds like a great idea, but the problem is that, like, I wasn't, like, so passionate about talking about each of those concepts, and there was just a lot of, like, weirdness to it. Like, it seemed like the project would be kind of stilted, and, like, I don't know if these will be the best shows to talk about these concepts, or how much I'll have to say. Like, I had Ponyo for color theory, but I don't know how in-depth I can really go about that, the whole thing is in the Ponyo video now, like, what I would have said. So, you know, instead, I was thinking about, well, what actually makes these my favorite anime? Like, why... I'm going to plug in the charger for this phone because it's got 3% battery life. If anyone's wondering why I keep waving my hand in front of the screen, it's because I'm trying to check how much battery is left. And the answer is not much. So let's go ahead and hook this up before it fucking dies. Fucking plugging it in cut my clip. The idea was that that I would look at these shows and, like, specifically, why is this my favorite show? Not just what's good about the show, not what does it do exceptionally well, why is it my favorite show? And I was first thinking about Kill La Kill, and just, like, how, you know, there's so many things I could say about the show, but ultimately, like, why it's my favorite has much more to do with, like, the specific emotions that it evokes in me with its imagery and stuff. Like, I was thinking about that image of Ryuko staring up at the city and being like, I'm gonna conquer this whole thing, and, like, how that moment got me so hyped for the show, and I'm like, that has more to do with why it's my favorite anime than anything else, you know? So, like, what if we made a video just talking about that and did that for each of my favorites? And I was like, I'm in a perfect mindset for this right now, because I am not in a mindset to make anything that is a, like, cash grab. I'm not in a mindset to do anything just for popularity. You know, like, I'm not in the mindset to talk about current shows because I really don't feel like watching current shows. I'm not in a mindset to talk about, like, broad concepts because I've explored most of the ones that I'm really interested in, and I haven't come up with new ones that I feel like a dire need to explore yet. So, like, right now, all I want to talk about is stuff I'm purely passionate about, and to, like, if I'm going to do written content, like, if I'm going to bother writing it, I'm going to write it as well as I can. So with these favorite anime videos, I've really been trying to, like, flex my writing muscles and make them, like, perfect. Like, these perfectly constructed, tightly phrased little bricks of analysis about why these are my favorite shows. And so, you know, it's a really interesting series, especially because I'm not even, like, automatically satisfied with them. Like, in spite of the amount of effort, the Kill La Kill video, which I know I sent to Devu, and he absolutely loved it. He said this is a perfect script. But I kept looking at it with, like, a sideways glance, like, yeah, but is it as good as I could have made it? You know, like, I'm really being hard on myself with these videos and trying to make them, like, the perfect script. Which with Ponyo, I felt like I was closer to. You know, like, I was really satisfied with the Ponyo script. I felt like I explored it in like, it's a movie that 3 years ago, I literally said, I don't know how to explain why I like this movie so much. And then here I do, and I do it in terms that I think made sense and were very clear. Like, I made a good point about this movie and why I like it. You know, I don't know if I needed to bring in the whole Disney comparison part, but, like, otherwise, it's pretty tight. And I've got another one coming up about Hunter x Hunter that's pretty good, too. So, like, yeah, I'm excited about the series. I think it's really well written. It hasn't been doing that well in view counts. I think a lot of that's because I gave it a shitty title, because I just thought that my subscribers would really want to know about my favorite anime, but I guess they don't give a fuck. So, you know, I'm broadening it out a little bit. Let's see. Manga Mondays. You do not have time. So this one came as just the direct result of this Brazilian YouTuber who was like calling me out for dropping so many anime, and like I wouldn't have even responded because the video was really dumb. Like his entire argument was really stupid, and like clearly he's nobody. Like all the response I've gotten from my response from Brazilian people is that apparently Brazilian anime fans really hate their YouTube scene. Like apparently Brazilian anime YouTubers are all garbage, and this guy is especially garbage. So that's the response I've been getting from them. But like, it was just when I was standing outside thinking about like the idea of you don't have an hour, and I was just like, no, of course not. And then I was like, wait, there's too many people in this world who don't understand that they don't have an hour. Like, there's too many people willing to waste their time, and I need to save those people. So that's why it's you do not have time. Like, I need you to understand that it's not just me. You also don't have time for this, you know? So that was really fun to make. Then we did the Pub Crawl Context Crawl. So Pub Crawl usually is a podcast that just comes out and I don't say much about it because it has such a long history, most of which is not really available on YouTube, and it's kind of hard to break into like midway through. So many people had told me that they were like interested but didn't know where to start, that I was like, let's make a whole episode just dedicated to giving people context. Like a whole episode just about what this show is, where it's been, how long it's been going, who's been on it, and like, you know, release that. And it went pretty well, and it actually has been working as an entry point, I think, for a lot of people. Then we've got I Can Barely Fit My Dick in My Pants, the song background. This one was inspired because me and May were in the car heading back from getting food, and I'm trying to remember why we put on Meatloaf, because I think we were talking about duets or something like that, and I brought up Paradise by the Dashboard Light, the Meatloaf song that is like famous as a duet song. And we're listening to it, and I'm like, you know, this song's alright, but it's very old school. Like, it's just such a, like, dated song. It's kind of cutesy and schmaltzy, but, like, you know, it's hard to listen to in the modern age, sort of. And then I remembered the California Isn't Big Enough song, and I was like, you gotta play this song, you'll love this. And so she puts that on, and then I was thinking, of course, about the things I know about this song, and then I thought, oh, I can make that a video. Like, I think what's great about the Digibros Turntable channel is that a lot of stuff that I would do with anime, except that it's harder, I do on the music channel. Because with music, it's just so much more simple, where like usually there's only a few people involved in making an album, you know, so like when you draw a connection between two bands, it's just a lot more potent than drawing a comparison between two anime, you know, where like a ton of people worked on each. And like, I have a lot of these weird little tiny observations about anime history, but it's hard to give meaning to it in the way that I can with this song, where I can say, okay, this song's co-written by these two artists, and you can very clearly tell who wrote each part. And, like, there's no dispute there. Like, there's no way you can say, oh, but what about this guy? Or, like, well, if you understood the culture of the industry. Like, there's none of that. It's very straightforward. So I feel like the music channel gives me the chance to explore a kind of video that I have always wanted to do, and that I used to do back on my anime blog back in the day, before I knew too much and it ruined me. So yeah, that's sort of the background of this video, and I really want to do more like it, because I know there's a lot more stories like this I could think of, a lot more like weird connections I can make in the music world. It's just a matter of remembering them, like hearing a song and having it come to mind. So yeah, let's see, more scoring, more everything. The Ponyo video, which I already kind of addressed. Yeah, and the rest of it is just scoring shows and Let's Plays, which has been kind of I'm kind of doing them like one each, like one for one day, one for the other, because the scoring shows videos were all scheduled to be every other day. And then usually on the off days we end up recording a Let's Play, and I release it the next day. So like every single day there's something coming out on one of these channels. Funny thing about that is it's good for my patrons and fans that they get to have like this constant content. I don't know if it's really good for the channels because it's just dividing the growth across multiple channels as opposed to one, but I'm sure After Dark and Digibros individually are each benefiting from having a video every other day, and Digibros also has the Vic and Hope videos coming out all the time, so yeah, it's a pretty high period of activity if you're into like podcasts and looser content. And it's also a good period of activity if you like written content, because I'm putting out some of my best written videos of the year this month. So yeah, hopefully we're in a bit of a Digibro, I won't say a Digibro renaissance, but we're in a good period. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you next month.